grieving families whose relatives died from coronavirus have urged Chancellor Rishi Sunak to pump millions of pounds into counselling for the loss. The 1,900-strong Covid-19 Bereaved Families for Justice wants the government to earmark cash to help them cope. Psychotherapist Kathryn de Prudhoe, who became a member of the group after her dad died from the disease, has organised a submission to the Treasury setting out the case for funds ahead of autumn's expected comprehensive spending review. In her letter to Mr Sunak, seen by the Mirror, she says the coronavirus death toll has created tens of thousands of grieving relatives. This has significant implications for the productivity of the UK's workforce, and unfortunately bereavement support for those who have suffered losses as a result of Covid-19 has so far been inadequate, she writes. We are desperate for the government to change this before it's too late. We are asking for funding for a tiered national system of bereavement services designed specifically to support those who have lost loved ones to Covid-19. This should include helplines, professionally facilitated peer support groups and therapy groups, befriending services, counselling, and, for those most in need, trauma-informed psychotherapy. Close quote. Mr Prudhoue, of Leeds, lost her father Tony Clay, a retired civil engineer and grandfather of two, to the virus on April the 14th. He was just 60. She told the Mirror, "I was with my mum when we got the news that my dad's life support was going to be turned off. Because of self-isolation rules, I couldn't even hug her. We had to sit 3 meters apart throughout his illness, and for days after his death, she had to cope all alone, so this has been an incredibly hard time for all of our family. My dad was my 5-year-old son's best friend, and now he won't get to see him grow up. The pandemic means that lots of people are being bereaved in these particularly traumatic ways. I'm a therapist myself, so I've seen how that kind of grief can result in particularly bad mental health problems, and there's research to back that up. The solution isn't a stiff upper lip, it's getting help. But it turned out to be really hard even for me to access counselling. Free services are stretched to the limit, they have been for years, so I ended up paying for therapy that I couldn't really afford. I hate to think what it's like for people who don't even have that option. That's why I've worked so hard on this request for government support for people bereaved by the virus. We're begging them to do something now, otherwise there's a mental health crisis coming, and it could scar this country for many years to come. The Treasury was approached for comment,